thank you again for coming. So, inshallah, we'll start. Let me. Okay. Give me a sec, sorry. So, inshallah, today we're going to learn about. We're going to show the Quran, right? So, we're going to go to the next surah. So, last week, anyone remember what surah we studied? Anyone remember the surah's name? Last week? Or at least what was it about? You tell me. Yes, Surah Al-Fil.
Surah Al-Fil.
Yep. And what is the surah about? What was the surah? Do you remember what was the surah about? So Surah Al-Fil was about the elephant.
The elephant.
Yes. So the title Al-Fil means elephant, right? The elephant, right? And it's referring to the time when elephants invaded Mecca, or were about to invade Mecca. Okay, right? And then the story goes, right, that we learned last week is that even though elephants came, they were all defeated by what? Allah sent down birds with stones, right? So the birds with stones destroyed all the elephants. And what is the lesson? The lesson, right, to recap, is that it doesn't matter, right, who invades Mecca. Okay, so even if the strongest armies were to invade, right, if Allah wills, He can destroy all of them. Okay, remember that the Kaaba belongs to who? Who does the Kaaba belong to in Mecca? Kaaba belongs to Allah, right?
Allah.
Right? Allah is right? He owns everything, right? He owns all the universe, right? And the Kaaba is his property, right? So whoever attempts to harm it, right, he will not be harmed except if Allah wills it. So, right, even if they send elephants, they send tanks, they send anything, right? If Allah does not will it, they will not harm the Kaaba. That is the lesson. Okay. So the lesson for us is that we have to trust Allah. And we, even at the time, right? If you were at the time when that happened, right, you might think, oh, this is worrisome. Like they're sending a whole army of elephants to invade us. Okay, but they never came because right, the birds came as well. Okay, so inshallah, hopefully you guys will remember that the story, at least when you recite it or you listen to it. Right, remember, it's important that you understand so that when you're listening, that you at least get the you understand what the story is about, so that you're not just listening, and that you know what the meaning is. Okay, so inshallah, the next surah, which is technically before, but the one we're studying next is Al-Humaza. Right? Anyone know that surah? Al-Humaza?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. Okay. You guys see that?
Make
so
it
who would like to
bigger.
volunteer to read the surah? Inshallah. I'd like to volunteer.
Me.
Okay, go ahead, Pasha.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع له وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في في عمد ممددة.
Pasha. Thank you for reading. And then who would like to read the translation?
I'll read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Woe to every backbiter, slanderer, who amasses wealth greedily and counts it repeatedly, thinking that their wealth will make them immortal. Not at all. Such a person will certainly be tossed into the crusher, and what will make you realize what the crusher is? It is Allah's kindled fire, which rages over the hearts. It will be sealed over them, tightly secured with long races.
Thank you, Pasha. So this is Surah Al-Hamazah, right before Al-Fil. Okay, and anyone know what Al-Hamazah means?
It's the backbiters.
Yes, right, it's backbiters, right, referring to, of course, the people who backbite. Okay, and yeah, if we just read the surah, the translation, and it talks about those people, like the people who slander, backbite, and do all these evil things. Okay, so first about the surah context. Anyone know if this is Mecca or Medina surah? So this is a lot of people agree that this is Mecca. So a lot of the scholars agree this is a Makki surah because this is the people referred to in here are most likely the Quraysh, right, or those people in Mecca, right, the Quraysh. Because at the time, right, there used to be a lot of evil committed. Right? This is before Islam was big, right? So, right, in Mecca, as you know, right, the Muslims were the minority. Right? They were very few, and so there were still a lot of people who were still ignorant, right? Jahiliyyah, right? Those who were still referring to the old ways, right? So before Islam came, and so right, there were a lot of these people who did basically like underhanded things, right? They would lie, right? They would when doing business, they cheat, right? They would do horrible things to their daughters and sons, right? And like basically their character was not good, right? It was very dirty, right? That they would be like very, a lot of the neighboring like countries, right? They basically looked down on the Arabs because they were very, they were very backwards, you could say, like culturally, right? Because they were like, they were very not honorable, you could say. Okay, and then as a result, right, when the Prophet ﷺ came, right, and then tried to do da'wah, right, spread Islam, right, there was some question as to like, these people do horrible things, yet why does Allah let them do this, right? If Allah does not like these evil things, then why do they continue to do this? Why do they continue to do this and still have like a lot of wealth, have a lot of they're not punished, right? Usually if you do a bad sin, you should be punished, right? Okay, and so Allah reveals this, and so if we look at the surah, this right, woe to every backbiter, slanderer, who amasses wealth greedily and counts it repeatedly, thinking that their wealth will make them immortal. Okay, so this is like saying right? Those people who keep backbiting, slandering, they all the money. They're very greedy, and they think that this wealth will protect them, right? It's the same thing like right now. You see all these billionaires, CEOs, right? They have all this money, right? And you think you have all this money, right? Money is power. Like that's what you think. That if you have all this money, then everything will be easy for you, right? And you live a comfortable life, right? But right in the surah, right, Allah says, not at all. Such person will certainly be tossed into the crusher. So what is the crusher here? Anyone want to guess or no? There is.
Hellfire?
Yes. So the crusher, I think it's Hutama in the ayah, right? So كلا لا ينبذن في الحطمة. Right? So the crusher, right? It could be like the hellfire, right? The hellfire, right? It's hot, right? You would think it's hot, but it's also crusher, right? Crusher, right? It says in the surah, who will make you realize what the crusher is? It is Allah's kindled fire, which rages over the hearts. It will be sealed over them, tightly secured with long braces. So the crusher is like, it's not just gonna burn you, but it will also be so overpowering that you feel crushed. Like think about it like you're stuck in like there's rocks crushing over you, right? I think like there's like a rock that like falls over you, right? They think it's kind of like that. All the fire will be all around you. It'll basically overwhelm you. That's what that means by crushing, right? You can also say like it crushes your soul, right? It crushes like your whole body. It's very, the more you imagine it, the more it's kind of like uncomfortable, right? And so this, right? The point of this is that it reveals what the fate of those people will be, right? Those people who backbite and slander, right? If you wonder why they're not punished now, right? Allah says that those people, if they're not punished in this world, they'll be punished in the hereafter, right? In the hellfire, right? And that's what the goal is, right? There's that. Or not the goal, but that's the truth, right? Is that the ultimate judgment will be in the hereafter, in the day of judgment, right? So that's why you can do whatever you want, right? Allah gave you free will to do whatever you want, right? Remember, so right? You can either do good, you can either do bad, right? If you guys remember the hadith from a few weeks ago, right? That basically every day is a new day. Remember, every day you start the day anew, right? It's like a start your journey, like a make your own adventure kind of thing, right? When you wake up in the morning, right? You have choices, right? You can either choose to what? You can choose to do good. You can do ibadah. You can study. You can improve yourself, right? Do good things, do good deeds, help other people, or you can do bad deeds, right? You can sin. You could do you can evil. You could backbite, lie. You have these options to do, right? Allah gave you those choices, and you can choose them, but know that there will be consequences for your choices, right? That's the point, right? These people, they chose to lie, they chose to backbite, slander, steal, cheat. They chose to do all these things, and they will pay the consequences eventually, right? If it's not in this world, it'll be in the next world. Okay, right? So the point is that we have to learn that there are consequences to our actions, right? So don't think that no one's watching, I can cheat, or he won't know if I'm lying, he won't know if I'm backbiting him, right? You can say these things, but there will be someone who knows, right? And that's Allah. So just remember that that Allah's always watching. Like remember the concept of ihsan, right? There's Islam, Iman, ihsan. And ihsan is if you worship Allah as if you see Him, and if not, know that He sees you, right? So whatever you do, right? Remember that Allah's always watching you. Okay, so even if you think, I can, I'll just take I'll just take the cookie from the cookie jar, even though my mom said not to, right? Or I don't know what you guys like. I'll just play my DS or I don't know, Switch or whatever game, right? Even though I was grounded, right? Your mom's not watching you, so it's fine. But Allah's always watching you, right? So just remember that. Okay, so right, and know that there'll be consequences for your actions. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So the surah is straightforward, right? So it's referring to those backbiters, right? And if you look also, we won't cover it now, but the next surahs as well, like in this in juz Amma, they also talk about those people, right? So the common theme that among a lot of these surahs in juz Amma is referring to the Day of Judgment, what will happen on the Day of Judgment in the hereafter, right? So for those people who all the deeds we do now, there will be consequences in the Day of Judgment, right? So like al-Humaza, right? And also we saw Quraysh, Ma'un, right? If you remember those meanings, right? If you remember the surahs, they all talk about right, the deeds we do now and what will happen, what Allah promises will happen to those people. Okay. So yeah, if there's no questions, I think that's it for the Quran. So okay, so I just remember the 4 steps again to reading the Quran. You can tell me. I've repeated this a lot of times.
Read, translate, understand, and apply.
Yes, good job, you. Okay, alhamdulillah, that's good. Yes, so read, translate, understand, and apply. Yes, right. So whenever we read the Quran, try to apply these things, right, when you read it, to take the most benefit out of the Quran. Because if you just read it, you'll still get good deeds for reading the Quran, but that's it, right? You just get the hasanat, which is good, but you won't take the most benefit. Like if you don't apply it, then it's gonna be basically useless for you, right? That's why we want to apply these steps when we read the Quran, right? So whenever you're reading, right, like after Maghrib or whatever time you are, right, try to remember, like, okay, I'll try to read the translation, right? Then after reading the translation, try to understand it. So, okay, it's talking about this story. Why is this story important to me, right? What does it mean for me? What is the benefit? What is the lesson? Okay, that's the 3rd step. And the 4th step is apply that lesson in your life. Okay, so now that you know the lesson, practice it, right? So for example, right, Al-Humaza, right, we just read the surah. Okay, so we read the Quran first, right? We just read the Quran, and then we read the translation. Okay, and then we understand it, right? The lesson. Okay, so this is about the backbiter, right? The lesson is what? What is the lesson of the surah? You tell me.
Don't backbite.
Don't backbite, right? Okay, and the reason why we don't backbite is because there are consequences, right? That all to do that, right? That if you backbite, right, those backbiters will face the crusher, right? And may Allah protect us from the hellfire. I mean, right? So the lesson is we don't backbite, don't slander, right? Don't do these evil things, okay? And that's simple, right? And to apply it, just don't backbite, right? Don't lie, right? If for example, if you're friends, this is a common thing I think in high school, in the school age, right? You're hanging out with friends, right? And I don't know, sometimes you talk about people, you talk about other people in school, right? Like, oh, he walks funny, or he did this funny thing in class today, right? Even though it's a joke, right? If you backbiting is if you talk ill of someone behind their back, right? So remember, right, that when this happens, just remember, we shouldn't, at the very least, let them know. If you're gonna joke right around, let them know, like, if they're in front of you and if they're okay with it, then that's okay. But you don't want to hurt their feelings, right? Because if their feelings are hurt, right, they might say yes, but their feelings are hurt, then that's still not good, right? So I try to remember this, that we don't backbite, we don't try to talk ill of people, right? We want to do good, okay? We don't want to be of those people who backbite and slander, right? So it's important to remember that, especially I think in school, or not even in school, but just when you're hanging with friends or coworkers or whoever, right? Yeah, if they start to backbite, you can either stop them or just stay out of it, right? So there are many ways, right, to refrain from doing that. Okay, makes sense.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so alhamdulillah. So right, if there's no more questions, then we will move to the next topic, inshallah. So let's see. inshallah, the next topic, we are going to continue discussion of the 40 hadith. Okay, so, right, the 40 hadith now, okay, and then because I think we have some new people, let's just go over the 40 hadith again, right? So what is the 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi? You can tell me.
The compilation of hadiths made by Imam Nawawi.
Right, so pretty straightforward. So, right, so first, hadith. What is a hadith?
The saying of the Prophet. Speak on it.
Yes, so hadith refers to the sayings or actions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so in Islam, right, we always have two primary sources of information, right? So when we study Islam, right, we study from two sources, right? And those sources are what? First is, what is the first source? Quran. And the second?
The Sunnah.
The Sunnah. Okay, so Quran, right, we just studied the Quran, is the book of Allah, right, that was revealed to the Prophet, right, we studied that, right, because this is the words of Allah, right, this is, as Muslims, we have to obey the Quran, right, we have to follow what's in the Quran, right? That's for number one. Number two is the Sunnah. The Sunnah is basically the sayings and actions of the Prophet, right, because sometimes the Quran, it can be complicated, right, sometimes it's hard to understand. Right, and that's why the Sunnah exists, right? Because the Prophet basically exemplified the Sunnah, right? If we study the Prophet's life, he basically is a walking Quran, right? If you look at him, if you study how he walks, how he acts, all of this stuff, everything he does is in accordance with the Quran. That's why we want to study both, right? The Sunnah and the Quran, right? The Sunnah is basically the how we live the Quran, right, from the Prophet, right? And also it's part of the Shahada, right? Remember the Shahada? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. By following the Sunnah, we follow the Prophet, which is also part of Islam. Okay, so going back to Hadith, Hadith is the sayings and actions, right? And they're recorded by many Sahaba, right? Companions, right? So basically, right, if you look at history, right, if you look at any historical figure, there is no other historical figure in history that has been recorded like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Like, do you know what Julius Caesar does in his home, right? Or do you know like Cleopatra or I don't know, Albert Einstein? Do you know what Albert Einstein does at home, or how he wakes up and stuff, or any celebrity, I guess, as well. All the presidents, right? Do you like Obama, or Lincoln, or all these people in history, right? They're famous people. They had a lot of influence, right? They were presidents, rulers, scientists. All these famous people. They had a lot of impact on history itself. But we don't know more about them than we do about the Prophet, right? So we know how the Prophet woke up, how he got dressed, how he cleaned himself, how he talked to people, how he dealt with with children, with elders, with couples, how he led, how he was a father, how he was a grandfather. All these things about the Prophet, like all the very minute details. And he's the one figure in history that we have the most record of. And he's also, right, there's also a saying, I don't know if you guys know, there's a book, I don't remember who said it, but there's a non-Muslim who said that there has been no figure in history who enacted the most change in history with the least resources. Right, what does that mean? That the Prophet, right, we know the Prophet was not rich, right? He grew up orphan. He was an orphan at a very young age. And he was illiterate. He didn't know how to read, and he didn't have money, right? He didn't have a lot of wealth. And yet what happened, right? Because not because of Allah, of course, right? Allah is the one who did all of this, but right, the influence of the Prophet led to how many Muslims in the world now? It's like now almost 2 million, I think, or maybe like 1.5, maybe something like that, right? But over 1 billion Muslims in the world now, right? 1400 years later. Okay. So anyway, right? The point is that the hadith has all these collections of the sayings and actions of the Prophet ﷺ. And there are actually like hundreds of thousands of hadith, right? So there's a lot of recordings, right? The companions record about the Prophet. So Imam Nawawi's 40 hadith is just 40, right? Just 40 out of however many thousand there are. But these 40 hadith it's been widely acclaimed. Right? A lot of scholars and people agree this is like a collection of like the most impactful hadith for us, like the ones that if we study, it has the most benefit to us. Right? So basically, you could say it's a very comprehensive hadith, even though it's only 40 hadith. Okay, so right, and just to give an example, right? What is the first hadith of Imam Nawawi? Anyone remember? What is the first hadith?
Intentions.
Yes, intention. Right, action is by intention. Right, this is a very famous hadith, and a lot of scholars agree this is like sort of like a foundation of Islam. Right, it's like this is like everything in Islam could come from this. That actions are by intentions. Innamal a'malu binniyat. Okay, that right? If you intend to do right, whatever action you do will be judged by your intention, right? So let's say, okay, you intend to give charity, to give sadaqah, right? Say you're at Jummah prayer and you have some money, you intend to give sadaqah. Okay, even if you fail to give sadaqah, for example, maybe they picked up the donation box, right? So you can't donate anymore, or maybe you have to leave quickly because you have to go back to school or work, right? Even if you don't intend, even if you didn't do the action, you will still be rewarded, right? That's what it means when action is by intention. So if you sincerely intend, okay, I'm going to give money today at the masjid, but for some reason you couldn't, Allah will still reward you for intention, right? Right. That's why action is by intention. Everything. And also, if you give charity, but your intention is to show off, you won't get rewarded, right? It might even be a sin, right? So even though you do the same action, if your intention is different, it'll have a different consequence, right? So that's what the first hadith is: intention, action, and intention. And of course, all the hadith have similar lessons like this as well. So, moving to today's hadith. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so we're continuing our study of the hadith of Imam Nawawi. This is hadith 24. Last week, or not last week, I think 2 weeks ago we did the hadith 23, which was hastening to do good, right? I think if you guys remember, right? This is this lesson that remember that every day is a new day, right? So we have a choice to either do good or bad, right? And right, the sunnah is that we try to do good, right? We choose to do the good things in life. Okay. And the next one is quite long. As you can see, it's almost like an essay. But inshallah, we'll get through it. Who would like to volunteer to read the hadith? So the English here is quite long. So inshallah, it'll be good for you. Anyone like to volunteer?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Make it big.
Go ahead.
On the authority of Abu Dar al-Ghafari, of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is that among the sayings he relates from his Lord is that he said, "O my servants, I have forbidden oppression for myself, and I have many forbidden amongst you, so do not oppress one another. O my servants, all of you are astray except those whom I have guided. So seek guidance from me, and I shall guide you. O my servants, all of you are hungry except those whom I have fed. So seek food from me, and I shall feed you. O my servants, all of you are naked except for whom I have clothed. So seek clothing from me, and I shall clothe you. O my servants, you commit sins by day and by night, and I forgive all sins. So seek forgiveness from me, and I shall forgive you. O my servants, you will not attain harming me so as to harm me, and you will not attain benefiting me so as to benefit me. O my servants, if the first of you and the last of you, and the humans of you and the jinn of you were all as pious as the most pious heart of any individual amongst you, then this would not increase my kingdom an iota. O my servants, if the first of you and the last of you, and the humans of you and the jinn of you were all as wicked as the most wicked of heart of any individual amongst you, then this will not increase my kingdom an iota. O my servants, if the first of you and the last of you, and the humans of you and the jinn of you were all to stand together in one place and ask of me, and I were to give everyone what he requested, then that would not decrease what I possess, except what is the decrease of the ocean when a needle is dipped into it. O my servant who finds good, let him praise Allah, and he who finds other than that, let him blame no one but himself.
Thank you. Yes, it is very long, but there is a lot of good in it, which is why, it's long. Right, there's a video, but I think it's also going to be long, so I'll just try to go through it quickly instead. But yes, there is a lot of lessons here. Okay, so the title of the hadith here is Forbiddance of Oppression. Okay, so what does that mean, right? So oppression, right, is oppressing others, right? So for people who, like for example, a ruler, right, has a land, right, and there are some people who are oppressed, right, that they do not have, that they, for example, need food, but they don't have food. Okay, it's like we can see now today, right, in a lot of countries, right, there are a lot of people who are oppressed by their government, right, in the Middle East, right, and all of these, and also in history too, right, there are minorities who are oppressed. Even here, right, in the U.S. too, right, there's also oppression happening, right? People who are not treated fairly. Okay, and the point is what? That Allah said, "I have made oppression unlawful for me." Okay, that unlawful for me. So He's referring to Allah Himself. Okay, so that means that all of the oppression and evil that happens, right, is due to people, right? So people are oppressing other people, right? And you might think that why do these evil things happen if Allah said it's unlawful for me? It means that anything bad that happens, right? We might say, oh, Allah, why is this happening? Right? Why is this evil thing happening? Right? This evil thing is happening because of people's free will, that they can do whatever they want, right? Remember that they have free will, and so they choose to oppress other people. Okay. And that's a sin, right? That Allah said is unlawful. It should not happen, right? But people still do it, right? So of course, because they do it, they will face the consequences, okay? But right, if we don't oppress, right? If we choose not to do that, if we choose to treat everyone fairly, then it will be good for us, right? It'll actually be a good deed, right? If we treat everyone, like if you are a leader, right? Say like leader in anyone here like the eldest sibling, or have younger siblings? Right, if you have a younger sibling, right, you don't want to, you want to make sure that they're treated fairly, right? You don't want to over-treat them, right? You don't want to spoil them, but you want to be a good older sibling, right? You don't want to make them cry, like you don't want to hit them, or you don't want to, even if they are they take all time or attention from your parents, or they get their favorite stuff, right? You still treat them fairly, okay? So. And you don't want to oppress them per se. You don't want to do bad things, right? So, right, that's the first part of this, right? That oppression is forbidden. Okay. And the second one, right? All my servants, all of you are astray, except those whom I have guided. Okay. So this is referring to Allah is the source of guidance. Okay. So, what does this mean? Right. So we know that if Allah is the source of guidance, that means that no one else can give guidance. So, right, we can refer to the last ayah of Al-Fatiha, what is the last? Remember the last ayah of Al-Fatiha? And this ihdina siratal mustaqim, and then siratal ladina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim
Waladdallin. Amin.
Right. What is the meaning? Do you want to remember the meaning of that ayah? I think we studied it a long time ago, but maybe someone was. The Fatiha, the last ayah of Al-Fatiha. And so,
It's like I need to say that, but the path that Allah blesses, not the one that's like going to hellfire.
so yes, Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, right? The path of those whom you have blessed, right? And not those who you have led astray. Right? So, right, that means that the guidance comes from Allah. Right? If anyone, if Allah guides anyone, they will not be misguided, right? And if anyone is, if Allah misguides anyone, then they cannot be guided. Okay, so this means basically, right, that you might have a favorite leader, you might have someone that you look up to, like a role model, for example, right? I mean, it could be like a sports player, right? It could be a celebrity, it could be a teacher, right? You might have a role model that guides you, right, in school or wherever, okay? But know that the guidance actually comes from Allah, right? Or you can follow these people, but they might think, like they might guide you somewhere, but right, just know that Allah is the one that guides, right? That even you can follow these people, but if Allah chooses to guide you in a different way, then you will be guided in that way instead. Okay, so just remember that Allah is the source of guidance, right? That we may attempt to show people the right path, but true guidance comes from Allah. Okay, so even though sometimes we might there might be something that people do, right, that we might think is correct, but actually it's not. Like say they tell you to, it's okay, you can eat that candy, right? It's it's only a little bit of pork, right? Some people might, it might be a mistake, or maybe they don't know that it has pork or whatever, right? But maybe, that you might have Allah might guide you to do something else too, right? So just remember that Allah is the source of guidance. Okay, and then the next one is, right? All of you are hungry except those whom I have fed. So seek food for me, and I shall feed you. Okay, so Allah is the provider. Right? So all the food that we have, right? All the breakfast you eat, the lunch you eat, dinner, right? Maybe your mom cooks it, right? Or maybe you go outside to a restaurant to eat it, right? So you might think the restaurants provide the food and my parents provide the food, but actually Allah is the one that provides the food, right? And all the material goods, so not just food, but also your clothes, right? And your wealth too, right? Not just food, but also wealth. Your education, right? Your schooling. Right? Allah is the provider. So, whenever we get something, right? We get food or anything, right? What do we say? If you eat food, right, you say Bismillah. And then you finish your food, what do you say? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
All praise is to Allah.
And Bismillah too.
And Bismillah too, yes, right? The Bismillah, right? In the name of Allah. Right? Because, whatever food you get, Allah can take it away the next day. Right? You might think, okay, my pantry, I still have cereal. It's fine. But maybe the next day it goes bad, right? Or maybe, something happens to it, right? And Allah is the one that provides. Allah is the one that can prevent that from happening. Right? So that's what that means. Okay? And then the next one, all of you are naked except those who are clothed, right? So same thing, right? Clothing. All your clothes right now that you're wearing, right? It's from Allah, right? Maybe your parents bought you your clothes, or you bought your clothes, right? And from your money, right? So they have, you have a job, you have income, right? So you bought these clothes, so you might think it's yours, but actually, it's from Allah, right? So we have to remember that actually Allah also provided you your clothes, right? Look at all the people, on the homeless people, right? If you go to the city, right? Unfortunately now there's a rise in homeless people. Right, people who don't have a roof, right? It's too expensive to buy a house or they don't have clothing, right? They only have rags, and they when it's very cold, right? They don't have a lot to cover, right? They have to get a blanket or something, right? Okay, so those people, right? They were not as blessed. We, alhamdulillah, right now we have a house, right? We have clothing, right? And we have good food. All of these things are blessings, right? It's not just because of your hard work. You do hard work, but all of it comes from Allah. Remember that, okay? So your clothing, right? And then the next one is, oh my servant, you commit sins day by day and by night, and I forgive all sins. So seek forgiveness from me, and I shall forgive you. Okay? So the next part is that Allah is always willing to forgive us. Okay, so in the hadith it says that we are always committing sin, right? And that's true actually, right? Because we are humans, right? We make mistakes, and it's okay to make those mistakes, right? This is what Allah is saying. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to sin, right? We do sin as long as you ask for forgiveness. That's why we always say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Okay, so make it a habit to keep saying astaghfirullah, right? Oh Allah, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. We always ask Allah to forgive us, right? So, just make it a habit. Like, whenever you're outside, just say astaghfirullah. Whenever you're walking, or whenever you're doing anything, say astaghfirullah. Because we don't know what sins we commit, right? There could be a sin that we committed, but we didn't know, right? And the last thing we want to happen is that on the day of judgment, we have to answer for these sins, right? Right? We want to make sure that our slate is clean. So keep saying astaghfirullah, keep saying astaghfirullah whenever you can, so that we can always clear our slates, that we always clear it. Right? And there are also other ways to ask for forgiveness, right? We seek tawbah, right? Tawbah is what? It's repentance, right? You can do salat. Also, another way, right? On Friday, if you know, right? If you recite the Surah Al-Kahfi, the first 10 ayah, if you recite those ayah on Friday, it'll wipe away the sins from the last week. Imagine, right? Say the whole week, right? Just on Friday. So that was 2 days ago, right? So next Friday, if you can, just look up Surah Al-Kahfi. I think it's Surah 18 in the Quran. Just look up in your Quran. And on Friday, just read the first 10 ayah. If you read the first 10 ayah, the last 10 weeks will be erased your sins. Okay? But anyway, right, the point is that Allah is always willing to forgive us. So keep making istighfar. Say astaghfirullah whenever you can. Okay? And then next, O my servants, you will not attain harming me so as to harm me, and you will not attain benefiting me so as to benefit me. So this is quite long, but the next part is that Allah's treasures and bounties are endless. Okay, so actually in the hadith here, I think if you look here, O my servants, if the first of you and the last of you, the humans of you and the jinn of you, were all as wicked as the most wicked of any individual amongst you, then this will not decrease my kingdom in iota. Okay? So basically, right, imagine everyone in the world is evil. Right? Imagine everyone in the world is, does bad things, right? Like, kind of right? They're basically wicked. Right? They always sin every day. They do all these things, right? Even if everyone in the world was a sinner, right? Allah is saying that this would not decrease my kingdom in iota. This would not, basically, it wouldn't even do a dent in Allah's kingdom, right? Because Allah's kingdom is massive. It encompasses all the 7 heavens and the earth, right? All the universe, right? So even if everyone in the world, decided to, disobey Allah, it wouldn't do anything. And the same thing, if everyone in the world were the most pious people, right? Even if all of us were, we pray 24/7, read Quran, we do dhikr, we do all these things. Even if all of us were pious, it would not increase Allah's kingdom. So we wouldn't even benefit it, right? Okay. And then lastly, right, if everyone in the world were basically to ask Allah what they wanted, say everyone in the world were to stand together and ask Allah what they wanted, and Allah granted them their request, then it would not decrease what Allah possesses, except what is decreased when you drop a needle in the ocean, right? So it's like Allah's kingdom is an ocean, right? How big is the ocean, right? How it covers what, like 3/4 of the earth, right? It's like 70% of the earth, right? If imagine that Allah's kingdom is like that, and then if everyone in the world were just to ask, like, hey, I want a PS5, well, please, or a car, a Tesla, or something, right? If you ask for whatever you wanted, right, it would be like just dropping a needle in the ocean. Right? That's how much it is. It's very little, right? It's very small. Okay, and the point is that Allah's treasures and bounties are endless, right? It's inexhaustible. You can ask Allah for whatever you want. Okay, if you wanted a PS5, you can ask. It's okay. Allah will. It doesn't matter what dua you make. You can make dua for anything. You can make dua for a new game, or you can make dua for better grades. You can make dua for a job. Maybe for health, right? For all these things, you can make dua for anything. It doesn't matter, right? Because Allah's bounties are endless. He will have Allah's hand is not diminished, and he wants to give you. You just have to ask. Okay, and then finally, the last part. I owe my service. It is but your deeds that I account for. That I account for you, and the recompense you for. So he who finds good, let him praise Allah, and he who finds other than that, let him blame no one but himself. So the last part is accountability, right? So this is what we've been talking about. It's the consequences, right? So any deeds that you do, there will always be a consequence, right? That whatever deeds, if you find good things, you will get the reward for it. But if you do bad deeds, then there will be consequences, and you have to take responsibility, right? So either you take consequences here in the dunya, in this world, or in the next world. Okay, so yes, this is a long hadith. There are a lot of things here, right? Okay, but right, if there's one lesson that we can take, right, it's that we have to remember that Allah is the source of everything. Okay, the one lesson that we can take away, if there's one thing that you at least remember, is that we should always look to Allah for everything, right? Whether He's the source of everything, and He's always willing to forgive us and give us what we want. Right? We just have to ask and we seek from Him. Okay, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our iman and to make us among the pious, right? And to make us make more dua to Him as well. Okay, so yeah, this is a very long hadith, I know. Just remember, if you ever want to take a look, right, I linked the hadith in Discord, the website, 40hadithnabi.com. This is actually a pretty good site. They have all the hadith that you can look, and then they have the commentary as well. I think it's pinned in the Discord, so feel free to, I can pin it as well. But yeah, inshallah, hopefully that's beneficial. Any questions? No. Okay. No questions. So, okay. Yeah, that's it for the hadith then, and for the topics today. So, inshallah, we'll resume again next week. I did actually also, I think I also wanted to cover the seerah as well, inshallah. So, hopefully, maybe next week we can start that. I think it's good if we can learn about the Prophet, because I think, right, that this month, right, is Rabiul Awwal. It's the month of the Prophet, so let's try to also increase our understanding of the Prophet. So yeah, next week we'll try to start that. Hopefully you guys will learn more and also learn to love the Prophet as well, so that you can, the lessons we can learn from him be very good. Okay, so yeah, that's it for today. As always, you can use the Discord or WhatsApp if you have any more questions. And yeah, inshallah, hopefully we'll meet you guys next week. So with that, we'll close for today. Any final comments or questions? Okay, no? Okay, jazakumullah khair everyone again for coming, and on this Sunday morning, we'll close with dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. واغفر لي ولوالدي وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. اللهم رب الناس أذهب البأس اشفي أنت شافعي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. اللهم ارزقنا رزقا واسعا كثيرا حلالا طيبا وارزقنا الرازقين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. See you all next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for joining us, Teacher Fateh.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Yes.
Why you use computer?
Because I just felt like it.
You use that one with Teacher Fateh?
I just felt like it. I just feel like it.
What you learn about?
Hadith.
About what? How this what? How this what? Huh? About what?
Prophet Muhammad and Allah. Prophet Muhammad and Allah will tell what our number one God is telling Prophet Muhammad and Allah.
And then today what you did, Surah? I hear you did Surah. What Surah you did? I hear you did.
Surah Al-Humazah. That's it.
Nice. Stupid of me. No. Oh. Whoa! Oh my goodness. Whoa! It's shaking a lot. So sorry. Stay, please. Yes. Whoa! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Again, if you're just waking up, it's us, the Jonas Brothers, in the morning show. Doesn't ring as much. No. Follow you through the dark, can't get enough. You're the medicine and the pain, tattoo inside my brain. Baby, you know it's obvious. I'm a sucker for you. Yeah, still wanna know, go anywhere I leave. I'm a sucker for you. Again, if you're great to see you. Welcome back to Character Elimination Season 8, Twilight vs. Sunset Tour. Last time, Toad got eliminated. We did the Chain Chomp Challenge from Mario Power Tennis.
Luigi won the Chain Chomp Challenge, and the rest of the contestants are up for elimination. So, let's go to the elimination tent. Alright contestants, let's see how many prize votes you got.
Alright. It appears that none of you win the prize. Except Yoshi. He has the most prize votes. Yoshi, you can go to the prize tent to get your prize after the elimination votes are announced. Okay. Let's move on to the elimination votes. Let's see how many elimination votes you all have.
Okay, it appears that all of you are safe. Except for Sunset Shimmer. She got the most elimination votes. So, Sunset Shimmer, you're out.
Well, I had a great time being here because I made it further this season. Anyways, I have to go. Bye guys.
Okay, Yoshi. Now it's your time to go to the prize tent to get your prize. The rest of you will stay until he's back. Super Show off the map on DVD. I can't wait until I watch the DVD with my friends. Anyways, it's time for me to head back because the next contest will start soon. Alright, contestants. Your next contest is Don't Drop the Pumpkin. If you drop the pumpkin, you're out.
Whoever is the last person standing, wins. Let the contest begin. Go.
Luigi is out.
Princess Twilight Sparkle is out.
Yoshi is out.
Now it's down to Optimus Prime or Applejack to win the contest.
Optimus Prime is out. And Applejack is the last person standing. So she wins today's contest.
And the rest of the contestants are up for elimination.
Alright everyone. Vote for any contestant except Applejack to get eliminated and to win the prize.
The person with the most elimination votes will be eliminated, and the person with the most prize votes will win the prize. Voting ends on Monday at 9 p.m. So, start voting now.
reaction this as soon as possible. So don't put me on hold again. Paddington, what is going on in there? Nothing. Don't read the terms and conditions. Oh no.
There she goes.
Mr. Brown, are you there? Yes, hello. Yes, that sounds fine. No. Don't read the terms and conditions. I really want to action this as soon as possible. So don't put me on hold again. Paddington, what is going on in there? Nothing.
Hey! Bear's bed sled!
It was the first
This is part 1.
snowfall in Word
It's
World.
winter in Word World.
Bear was very excited.
Bear was really excited.
I love
Swimming. Swimming.
Who's gonna need more time? Everyone. Now there's 85% more Tide in every power pod. We're gonna get your body. You're the medicine.